Hi. So today I'm going to do something different than usual, sort of giving myself a little session. And I sort of I'm going to describe how I'm doing things, what I'm seeing, and hopefully, it might give you some ideas. You might try it yourself. I have a little mirror to help me out a little bit. But anyway, hopefully the recording will work. So I'm looking at my little issue of not knowing what to talk about. Like, let's say a lot of videos I make, sometimes I have this clear goal or I have a lot of these ideas, but it usually takes time. And I do want to make some quality content. And, I would like some dedication. I would like to take a few hours to just okay, choose a subject, like, let's say, write down the key points and clear message and just do good stuff. But throughout my busy day and a lot of things I'm doing, I just, got back home. It's almost 10:33, all right, it's evening, got to prep for other stuff. And I got to make a video too. So what am I going to talk about? And it's been the last few weeks of this, where I get back home and I'm like, oh, I got to make a video. And what am I going to talk about? And this question of what am I talking about today is always a thing. I mean, usually, I can have an idea. I'm gonna be inspired. I'm gonna experience something that I feel is worth sharing. But there are days when it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to talk about. And so I just decided, hey, I'm just gonna do a little session on myself. And I started doing it. And I'm like, oh, might as well record it and see what happens. So there it is. My item is sort of not knowing what to talk about, or I guess I can just start with that and go from there. So the way I start is, as a person, I have visuals opening up for me really good. Like, I'm staying away from watching movies and everything else that will sort of shut off my visuals. It's just like simulation, and I don't need the whole thing being used too much. So for me, I can just tune into the visuals and see much more if I avoid certain things. And when I ask the question, let's say, what might be some of the reasons for not knowing what to talk about? And I can sort of look at who's involved. Like right now, are there entities involved? And the mirror kind of goes a bit to the right and a bit to the left. Like when it's going to the right, it's something I can confront and I can see. So entities in my space. There's a bit of doubtful, and they themselves don't really know what to talk about. Like they will have their mission, their goal, okay, let's just mess with Aquila and maybe stop the thought process, stop the direction or focus, and removing the ideas, I don't know, inspiration. It's just coming, and before I even notice it in my space, it's just already gone. So a lot of you might have this thinking or a process of thought, or you just start getting this idea and it disappears, fades away really fast. You have something to say and all of a sudden, oh, what was I saying? And usually it might be something bright, it might be something you care about and stuff. So as I'm just looking at that, I can pop up to the visuals and see entities in my space. I usually have it off because when you go out and you see billions of entities around people, it's okay, I just want to turn it off and have a normal human day. Can I do that, please? So I usually keep it off unless I feel like I'm working on myself. Today I am. So I turn it on, and of course the usual, there's more clusters, and they're directed to different things, a bit of tiredness, a bit of other things. But today I want to focus on specifically making videos. So cluster of entities that will be there to sort of intervene, intercept, and mess with my, I don't know, thinking whenever I have this idea, or I'm oh, I know what I'm going to talk about today. They're going to sweep it off and make sure I don't really notice it, or I can't grab it and oh, this is it. And I'm going to talk about it, the inspiration, the ideas, the enthusiasm and everything else is just really fast. So with these entities, that pop in my space, they're more like thought forms. So their whole shape, let's just say, think of a bubble size of this, just a little bit of thing, and they make up that much of a space. There's over 1,000 of them over there. I'm gonna use the mirror. So let's say 100, 2, 3, 4, 4, 500, 500, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, no, 2,000, 2,100, 1,200, 2,003, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 800, in 100, 2650, 20, 30, 20, 20, 2620, 30, 40, 50, 50, 40, 40, okay, 2641, okay, 2641 entities in that little cluster. And, like, that's how big they are, right? All of them fit in that little bubble. It's a cluster. And their mission is just to intercept the thinking, the thoughts, the ideas. So if you have something to say, share, like they're going to like just sort of destroy it or make it invisible, sort of like have you forget about it or have you focus on something else. So if that bubble is just sort of like talking about it and sensing it and seeing it, what I do is like, okay, I can pop it like a bubble and it's just gonna disappear. I'm gonna uncreate it, unlock it, so to speak. And the other thing I can do is like ask, hey, who's your leader? Like, who ordered you to intervene with my thinking and the ideas for making videos? Like, who's your boss? Like, for example. So as I'm asking this, I'm gonna take my time, sort of like connecting with them, getting the answer. A lot of times, they can say things out loud or communicate in that way where I can hear it. Other times it's more of telepathic, so I'm going to connect, like become clean slate to receive the message, so it wouldn't be anything of my own, and then when I get it, like, okay, next. So the identity cluster that intervenes the thinking and ideas and everything else, like, who's your boss? And first thing I'm getting is like, it's someone on the spaceship. The spaceship isn't that big. It's, let's see. It's out of a basketball court, pretty much. So it's not too big, but it's big enough. But that's a little spaceship they have. And sort of like as they tell me that information, they're communicating telepathically, and I'm getting the answers. I'm sort of like with my visuals, just popping my consciousness in that little spaceship and seeing, okay, like who's in there, who's the boss, how many beings are in there. So I'm just sort of like having my conscious shift there. I'm looking around. It's not too big. It's a lot of white colors inside, like the ground, the floor. It's like black tiles, but it's not too black. I don't know, like black with gray shade-ish, or like it does reflect light a little bit. Like, I don't know how to say it, but it seems like it has this white stripe as you go. White corridor. It has some handles, no windows. So I'm looking, like there's like few doors in the back. So it's more like a, I don't know, like even like a shuttle, but it goes, let's say, it goes like, I'm in the middle somewhere. It goes like that and then gets bigger. And you could even think of it like as a little plane where it starts and gets to this point and has this end like a little triangle-ish, but not necessarily just a triangle. It's more like has the tail is like breaks down to a certain shape. So in the back, there's like few rooms, but I'm heading closer to the like captain's cabin or who's ever like piloting the ship. And as I'm heading there, what do I see? Sorry, door opens up. There's like a human in there, reptilian, and there's just like figure. It's like hard to explain, like shadowish, like a shapeshifter, a being who can use consciousness to appear and escape. So I'm just sort of like gonna ask him some questions and see what happens. So this consciousness, or this like little shifter, I don't know, it's probably not good to call it consciousness, but what happens is that I'm seeing, I have this like thing. If I touch anyone with my left hand, I sort of find out the answers. So first thing I do is like grab that shifting thing, because it comes and goes. It's like appears, manifests itself, and then disappears. It's kind of like trying to hide or get away. And as I grab it, I sort of hold it down so that it wouldn't escape. But at the same time, I'm accessing the Akashic records, the memories, what the being knows. And it's not even like a being. It's like a creation of information similar to an AI, but it's like, let's say, people like us who are creators who are being used by certain sides. So let's say when you fall asleep and you're being harvested throughout the night, like you get into this dream construct and you might feel like you're trapped, you can't escape, or you wake up all exhausted. A lot of times people like that will be harvested throughout the night, like their energy and everything else with the creation. And these certain groups that suck up all this creation, they use it to sort of form something, or like, let's say this energy is like a lot of beings creating something simultaneously. So it does have a shape and form, but it can contain itself for a long period of time to have like primary state, so to speak. But it like follows certain commands it is given, and just like, it's like, I don't know, being a controlled puppet. So let's say if people like us can create a being, you just imagine, oh, people on a planet, yeah, and you create it simply as that. In your dream state, let's say physical body falls asleep, you end up in a like dream construct where your creativity is being harvested. Certain parties will use that creativity to create beings like us, or try to use our creation to create I don't know, someone with better abilities than the reptilians and everything else. And these beings like just follow the command. They're pretty much controlled. They're not really awake, aware in a way where, oh, look, I have a shape and form and who am I? They don't have these questions. They're pretty much like creation that's being controlled, so to speak. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like from what I see, and like, how do I put it in human language and explain it to you people? No idea. But that's pretty much like what I'm getting. Like a lot of people being harvested, let's say from humanity, and that creation energy is used to form beings like puppets, like super soldiers, but out of our energy, out of our thoughts and everything else. And those are like temporary soldiers. They don't really live for years. They like a week, 2 weeks, a month, if they're lucky, and then they're gonna dissipate, so to speak. The energy is gonna be used up. But while they're out there, it's like used as invisible soldiers who can get into our space and affect us one way or the other. Like for me, they're sort of like affecting my thoughts and thinking and my focus, so that, let's say, hey, Akveda, you shouldn't talk about certain information too much. Like, I'm interrupting beings if I would talk about suicide and freedom of consciousness and what happens in the afterlife. Like, I have my own focus and direction, and I feel like, hey, like, I really would like to talk about this, but all of a sudden there's this like the feeling of priority for something different, and then I end up doing a lot of other things, and it is productive, like I enjoyed it, but at the same time, like, I don't do something bigger that I wanted to do in the first place. And that's the little being I'm getting in my space. But as I'm just like connecting to it, I can see just a whole field. Like, let's say, think of matrix and the pods and these forms of creations. I don't know what to call it, but let's say whatever's been harvested and programmed with our own energy, energy puppets, whatever you would use to call them. Like, hey, feel free to give them a name in the comments. But there's a lot of them. It's like I can just touch every single body, see their purpose, and there's a lot of them. Like, for example, not allowing people to get out of body, like just pushing them back, sort of like disrupting the dream memory. You wake up, you've had an out-of-body experience for real, you've had an astral projection, you've had lucid dreams throughout the whole night. But these beings will make sure like the memory fades away super fast. Before you even like wake up, you're becoming aware of this body again, and like it just fades away, leaves your space. So a lot of that going on, like creating this, let's say, cloak, or when these energy bodies hang out with us in our space, we might not feel them because it's of our own creation. So it feels like us, it has our energy signature and everything else. But the purpose would be to push people back. So you try to communicate with someone, you're trying to connect, get better, and these beings will just sort of like put a view or a feeling state for others. Like, you're trying to, hey, I just want to connect, like, let's be friends, whatever. And that person will push back and see you as an asshole or something, because, that other part of you, the image, is what they're seeing or feeling. So the perception of personality, the beingness, the character, the energy, is they're picking up this other energy body of yours, but not you. And so a lot of their like miscommunications, a lot of like relationships falling apart, or misperceptions and all the stuff is sort of connected. And there's like a lot of these bodies. So like, okay, like I'm getting the idea of what's going on. I'm seeing beings connected, and okay, well, who's creating these bodies in the first place? Who is harvesting humanity? Who's like using these energy bodies and programming them? So just like, let's sort of zoom out, because the energy body, like, everyone can get rid of it now. We'll do it. If you think like you have something like it, I will try a few little processes as I'm, doing this little sessions for myself. So with that, like, yeah, let's see who's behind it. So I'm getting canceled. Council of 9. Council of 9. Ooh, ascended fucking masters that know it all and don't do fucking thing to help Earth. But let's just see. So some like, I get the sense of them. I get the beings. Now I'm just sort of like using my consciousness to get into their space to see what is up. And pretty much like the Council of 9 is like what I'm seeing is just our conscious beings. Like it's not really a body or a program, but it's a conscious being. Let's say like you and me who have a physical body or something else, like they have their own body of choice. And they're just choosing to sort of like play the physical universe game where they have a bit more control. And there's a lot of these like people, how should they say? Even though it's Council of 9, each individual has their own agenda. So even though they're in the council, they might not necessarily agree to a lot of things. And it's more of one individual has a way to play with beings and do their own thing, is their own experimentation. And I'm sort of going to get into why are they doing it and can we stop it or whatever. Just going to see what happens as I'm going to connect that being and have a conversation. There's a lot of these like conversations or like a chat going on. And I'm just going with, like, why are you doing this? Your intentions, who are you, and everything else. And with all of these answers, it's just like, hey, this specific being is making a lot of deals, like with the Galactic Federation of Light, with the Andromedans, with other beings out there. And it's just like suppressing beings. Like, let's say in this interdimensional war, they're like, some of them like, hey, it's a very good price and it's a game of keeping beings trapped here, sort of like using the consciousness, like let's say on the grand scale war in other dimensions, everything's pretty much the same. You just don't feel as much pain. And what they're trying to do is like, let's get rid of the beings that get in the way too much and sort of like kick them into lower realms where they're going to feel pain and have a few issues. So let's say if you're playing in the interdimensional war out in the 5th dimension or other places, and you can just have your whole body explode and you're going to just like sort of come back together and no pain felt, like no pain felt, and you're just going to keep on going. These beings like have traps to where, let's say as you're traveling, it's like an invisible wall that you hit, but this wall is like a portal that will teleport you to lower realms. And it's like being hit in the head to where you lose your awareness for moments. And in that part where you lose your awareness for moments, they have traps to bring you lower. And then it's the same as like, what happened? And now you're stuck in a different situation and you have to deal with that. So there's like one thing after another, like Americans and English speakers have a saying, but like in Lithuanian, it's like jumping from like meeting a wolf in a forest and oh boy, and you're going to jump onto the bear as you run from the wolf. So it's like one little thing onto a bigger, onto a bigger problem constantly. And, like that's what happens. Like they kick out beings from this interdimensional war on a higher states. They throw us into like 4-dimensional reality, and over there, it's like, oh, look, you're the great being. And they like run up to you. There's lots of cases and lots of scenarios how it can go, but I'm just seeing some of the examples as it like sort of like flashes by me. And a lot of these beings, will, it's like you are being kicked into a lower realm or dimension, and you end up in a space where some random being, as you're like trying to wake up, like, oh, what happened for a moment, just like seconds, it's like getting hit in the head. And as you look around, there's a being running up to you saying, oh my God, like you're so great with your powers. Like first there's making a contact and making you feel good, like seeing you as like, oh, like you're so strong, you're good, you're capable of doing a lot of things. So it's like, yeah, like that's me. Like you agree with how they identify you because this is how you identify yourself. But with that agreement, they lead you into this, can you help us? Like we have this major thing going on, and we rarely have any help. And so that help can be like, look, there are beings like trapped in this little realm, or there's like the soul traps and other little things. And the whole grand game you had to play, that you agreed to get involved yourself in the first place. So it's like agreeing to play football with someone. Yeah. So now you are in the field, and from the field you got hit by a guy, and now you're trying to deal with the guy. So like it's kind of like getting into a like different dimension, and now you're trying to deal with something else here, because like, oh look, it seems like to be very sudden. You have to like, do you feel like a good being? And why not? Like you're capable, and these people seem to be like a really harsh like situation. So you go help out. And it's like, this is how you just like went sideways. You had this great thing, and a lot of people can come back, but just sort of like getting distracted, getting refocused, repurposed, and like, oh, look, like let's say you're hurrying up to work, and on the side, where like on a side road or sidewalk or somewhere, or like in the middle of the road as you're driving to work, there's a dog, and oh fuck, I'm gonna stop the car, get out, and help the dog or this old lady cross the road or get to safety. So you get sidetracked, like instead of going to your job, like most people going to higher dimensions and coming back to what they were doing in the first place, now it's taking care of a puppy because you love puppies, and they will find something that you can relate to. It's like, yeah, it's me. Like I really care about this. And so they can personalize it. Whatever you're about, like if I would be like caring about a puppy or an old person, I'm like, oh, I'm going to help them out because it's my nature. It's who I am. They just draw us in so fast. They make us agree with our identity. Like, yeah, I feel like I'm God being. I'm capable of it all. Sure. Yeah. This is how I see myself, and this is what they say I am. So we have an agreement. Then they have me repurpose on something else that I care about, like actually. And, it's going to just sort of like circle down and, oh, look, a lot of stuff happened on the way. And, it can be within seconds, it could be within years, but you're so constantly engaged. Like, oh, look, as you're here, there's this massive library of all the information in the multiverse, and you can just take your time to read about it all. Like, yeah, I'm going to go on and like check it out, like the music, the healing stuff, whatever you're all into, so they get these traps and people end up here. And these controllers, like let's say the Council of Nine, they're playing on the like different level. There's interdimensional war, where one of the ways they trap beings over here is this like these little, I don't know, portals or little traps that will get us on the lower places, get us a good kick in the head, so to speak, and then gets us repurposed. You're constantly like, oh look. And how we end up on Earth, a lot of things happen on the way here, but we agree to come, and then we sort of get so engaged in the story that we forget about other stuff, or we're so busy that like, yeah, I can come back. It feels like like time is like a relative thing. It's like we can constantly jump back in that moment, but seems there's like something big and I don't know, like something of a bigger priority to do, and we just go with it. And so like this being from the Council of Nine is just like, hey, that's just my way of playing with beings, trapping them on lower realms. They end up on Earth eventually, but this being is like not even giving a damn. But hey, if they're on Earth, it's like very easy to use. So that's the thing. It's all about people like us, or beings, humans, consciousness, like sort of getting sidetracked with, oh, look, like we just feel this rush and suddenness and like gotta help. It's all about me, like totally fits with who we are. And it's just like very easy to get sidetracked. So, from this whole experience, it's like take responsibility and hey, my fault. Like I did it. I came here eventually from my own actions, my own things. Like, like, yeah, we can blame other parties. Like, hey, you did it. But we can always escape and go back. Like, oh, I just jumped into the different realm. Let's go back. And you just like use your intention. You teleport. You're back there in the game. And whoever is here on Earth listening to this video, we just sort of continued with little distractions and things we were feeling connected to. And not to say like everything we have experienced on all these realms for years is a distraction, but in a way, you find a thing and then, oh, look, we find people you're relating to and your whole story changes. So there's that. There's just like what I'm getting from this whole thing, and like, oh, look, this is pretty interesting for myself, like as I'm learning and getting a different perspective. Now coming back to these energy bodies, it's for me like seems like an easy way to just remove them. But energy body, like, it's just going to be a copy of me, this energy body. Like, let's say if I have a dream construct, and let's say my own energy and creation is going to be used, if I'm not aware of it, then they will create the copy of my own signature, or they will use someone else. Like lots of ways how it can go. But this creation, like, okay, like now I'm aware of it. So any one of you, if you want to do it, like start with giving a permission for that being to leave. Like, hey, you don't have to be here, or if you're here and you feel like you have a thing, you have my permission to leave, you have my permission to go, however you want to say it. Just kind of like disconnecting them. But on the other hand, like, hey, your imagination, if you can visualize them and all the stuff, just unlock them, uncreate them, erase them, or all the stuff that will work. The whole entity process of another body of me in my space with certain personality, like whatever pattern you see keep on happening again and again and again, whatever's repetitive, you just focus on that and sort of like, okay, I'm aware of the thing, I'm aware of the issue. So this part of me that keeps sort of redirecting me with different, more important things, I'm just gonna destroy it, and that is enough. You can always ask it questions and everything else, but that's about it. So for me, like, I don't know, like I'm getting a lot of clarity and not knowing what to talk about or to make videos about. Feels like I'm like, yeah, this is, don't feel like it now. I was like very calm. It's like, okay, just got more understanding of how things work from this little different perspective. So anyway, I feel like for me, it's a good time to take a break and like, okay, I understand the situation. I delve my own little things. Just like becoming aware of this lifts up so much. So there it is from my end, like something different, but you can definitely like do it by yourself or ask some guidance if you need and all. So hopefully this gives you some insights. If you have any different thoughts of what the hell happened, feel free to comment, and whatever you think about this story, however, like if you can relate to it or not, no, like it's nice. So hey, thank you for watching, and I got to work on myself. That's always a good thing. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.